Hey guys, how's it going? Share screen. All right, so I figured, I don't know, I'm really into this book. I want to read like every single letter, so I'm just gonna do this, read for about an hour, and then afterwards I'm gonna do Jack the Ripper. So right now we're on chapter 4, and this one is called Pray Tell. So it's all these patients that are running to this doctor, Quill. It's a very thin book, so it's not gonna take me long to read it. I guess I should share this so people can come on. All right. I usually don't go live at this time, so I think everybody is probably still over at Charlotte's. That's why I wanted to start at 6. She's usually done by then. Hi, Faith. Hi. All right, I'm going to start now. So, chapter 4 is called Pray Tell. Dear Mr. Quill, my name is Juliet, and I've been a patient here at the Emerson Rose Asylum for nearly 10 years now, though I hope to be leaving soon, if all goes planned, for this place is not where I belong. A long time ago, there was a priest, a gun, and a vengeance that placed me here. Hey, Mama 3. Hey, Cool Frog. You see, a blue plaid skirt is easy access to a white-colored man in black. Oh, boy. He had already been teaching my elder brother since the age of 10. You learn many lessons in a school like that. Like, a child is only to be seen, not heard. Hey, Teresa. Do not say a word about this, I was told. Shh. In the name of the Father, his Son, and the Holy Spirit. That's just sick. Like, how dare they use God for this? I said nothing. Who would have listened? After Papa died, Mother threw herself in a sacrificial lamb into the church of Catholic heathens. She spent more time with those church-laden hypocrites than with my brother and me. The worst part was the way my mother and those churches followed Father Tom around as if he was the Pied Piper. He ruled all of them, and not a one of them would have so much as crapped in the toilet without first asking Father Tom when, where, or how. Yes, Mrs. Johnson, you may go rid yourself of bodily fluids. Now go and pee. And I can tell you that none of them wanted to know what Father Tom was really doing with his flute. Ew. I was lucky in a way because even though I was only 8 years old, I could block it all out. My brother, however, could not seem to block any of it out. I learned quickly to recite the Serenity Prayer in my head as I thought of things like playing with my Chrissy doll or having a huge ice cream sundae all to myself. Hey, cool gamer. I never let myself really be there, but my brother could not seem to escape in any way. I guess years of that would get to any boy. Yeah. When my brother turned 13, things began to get bad. Purposely, he would get into trouble for stealing, fighting, and cutting class in an attempt to get himself kicked out of school. Instead, the principal, Sister Teresa, became fed up and made my brother go on a weekend retreat with Father Tom. This very night, my brother returned home. He went straight to his bedroom and shot himself in the head. Holy crap. That's awful. These priests, like, that's why I don't go to church. It's crap like this happens way too much to children, and they turn a blind eye. They don't fire this priest. They just pick him up and put him in another jurisdiction. That's disgusting. They should be in jail. I remember that night. I heard the gun go off, though had sounded more like a soda can popped. Then I heard my mother scream, and I knew. I ran to his room and saw mother leaned over his body, rocking and praying. Her screaming cries pierced my ears. I stood in the doorway, staring at his head. There was a hole, and blood poured like lava. His brown eyes were bulging and staring back at me. I wanted to say something to him, but mother turned around and screamed for me to call the ambulance. At the time, I had thought it was stupid because he was already dead. What was taking him to the hospital going to do? The police arrived shortly thereafter, and my mother went to the front door. I ran to his room quickly, looking for his note, but I found nothing. When I heard them coming towards the bedroom, I darted back to mine at the end of the hall. I heard my mother sobbing while the officer tried asking questions. Officer Brown came into my room, where I had been on the floor with my Chrissy doll. I had just pulled the rubber band from her long ponytail and was giving her a haircut. Funny thing, Officer Brown said and sat on the floor across from me. We can't seem to find the gun. Do you know anything about that? I tried to think of why he thought that was a funny thing and kept playing with my doll. No, sir, I don't know where the gun is. Did you look real good? Yes, we did. Did you find a note from my brother? I demanded to know. No, 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 he sighed. I know this is all confusing, but they don't always leave a note. I threw down my doll, pointed the scissors at him, and shouted, he was supposed to leave a note. Don't you understand? He was supposed to leave a note. I'm sorry, honey. Officer Brown gently grabbed my hand with the scissors and I let go. This is one of those things that, in spite all my years, I will never understand. Of course he did not understand. Why would he? My brother swore he would explain everything, but he didn't. He left me there to take it all. Why did he leave me a note? Why didn't he leave me a note? My brother had told me that he would kill himself one day. He wanted to die because of what was being done to him, and he was to leave a note explaining that it was also being done to me. I wanted it to stop so bad that I did not stop my brother. His suicide was to be my salvation. Wow. Right after his funeral, I began to act real bad myself. I would have erratic outbreaks and spontaneously throw things or punch other kids for no reason. Sister Teresa said if I did not behave, she would send me on a week-long retreat with Father Tom to have the devil taken out of me. Oh, yeah, I bet. However, the way I saw it, Father Tom was the devil and he needed to be taken out of me. That's how I ended up here. Hey, Tina. Things here at Emerson Rose were really good at first, when Dr. Huxley was still alive. He even gave me a new Chrissy doll one Christmas, but in time I wasn't allowed to cut her hair unless someone was around. That's because one time I was in the recreation room on the floor with my Chrissy doll and the hair mechanism stuck. No matter how hard I yanked, the hair would not pull out. I became so angry, I threw the doll down, then took the scissors and started to slash my arms. One of the nurses ran over and grabbed the scissors from me and yelled for another nurse to come and help. Dr. Huxley had walked in at that moment. I looked up at him and began to cry. Take the devil out of me. I begged him as the nurse began to wrap a bandage around my slashed arm. Dr. Huxley squatted and looked me in the eyes. There is no devil in you, he said in a matter of fact tone. Juliet, evil is on the outside and will only infect the inside if you let it. Sounds like this Dr. Huxley. All of these patients actually loved they enjoyed him, his company, talking to him. They loved this man, this doctor. And when he died and the new doctor took over, all hell broke loose. They were tortured, they were abused sexually, physically, mentally, verbally, you name it. I couldn't I would never survive a place like that. Never. After that, I did good with not letting evil thoughts get to me. Dr. Huxley had me take medication that helped, and I could talk to him every Wednesday at 8 a.m. if I needed. Then Dr. Huxley introduced me to theater because he said I had a flair for the dramatics, which meant he thought I would be good at acting. I was always the star in our Romeo and Juliet because Dr. Huxley joked I was born to play that part. Dr. Huxley would direct, and we were all allowed to perform for the other patients. That was a that was always a big night here. Even the patients would dress up in nice clothes to see our performances. Those were the happiest moments in my life ever. Then he was gone and it all changed. See what I mean? He let them have plays and everything. It was so sad. They say Dr. Huxley died of a heart attack. I'm not so sure because he had the best heart ever. Anyways, he was gone, and all of a sudden, Dr. Vanadin was here, and that's when things got bad for me. I haven't told anyone about it, though. I don't talk about the demons that come to my room at night. I've even seen what this place does to others who tell me about the things they see. The orderlies come and take them away in the middle of the night. Sometimes I think they take their brain because their minds are gone by morning. I hear them at night, dragging others out of the rooms. I don't want to be hauled off and taken to the other side of the wall, but these two demons that come at night, well, they are getting really bad, and I want them gone. I don't know the names of these two demons, or if they even have names, but I call them Spike and Scorch. The only, the demons only stand about 1 or 2 feet tall and perch on my metal footboard like vultures. Oh, I'm sorry, Jen. I've had that before. Yeah, you can't breathe. It's scary having that. They have skinny calves with bulky thighs, and their lower backs curve in up to the shoulders that hunch over. They have muscular biceps, tiny forearms, and their hands look much like their feet, with pointy black nails. Their oversized mouths are packed with long, jagged teeth, and their yellow, glowing eyes have pupils like black marbles. Spike, however, has mirrored silver, stubby spikes all over his back and on top of his head. He doesn't say much, really, but it's a mild, ear-piercing hissing noise when he does. Spike mostly just laughs like some kind of obnoxious hyena, and it's annoying more than anything else is. Then there's Scorch. I hate that demon, and I want to rip his head off. He has a big, wrinkled head with two crusty brown horns protruding from the forehead. The rest of his head is covered with what looks like petrified red, orange, and black fire flames. He squints at me all the time, and his mouth never shuts up. Scorch talks a lot about stuff I don't understand, but I'm sure it's mean. I try to ignore him, but when I do, he just gets louder and meaner. At first, I was able to ignore them, but lately it's become more and more unbearable. Like just last night, when Scorch started in on me. Juliet, 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 wake up, wake up, wake up. Juliet, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Juliet, wake up. Holy cow, it drive me nuts too. Hi, SD. What? I popped up. The snake misses his home, you know. For the man loves a lamb, much his youth to endure his old age. You're stupid, I yelled and lay back down. I heard Spike say, Juliet, Juliet. Scorch snickered. A jar needs its pickle from the garden, so ripe for my dearest. I fearest you are female friendless, useless. Pickles, pickles. Spike snorted a laugh as he clapped his hands. I shook my head, grasped my blanket, and closed my eyes. Wake up, wake up, wake up, Juliet. Scorch yelled as he and Spike started clacking on the bed rail with their foot claws louder and louder. Spike's laugh screeched and it began to burn my ears. I put the pillow over my head tight, but it didn't help. I popped up and screamed, "Shut up! Will you just shut up? God, you're both so stupid." They cackled and suddenly my door began to open. I threw myself under the covers quickly. "What's going on in here?" the night guard demanded. I pretended to be asleep. I heard the guard slap his baton. If I hear one more peep out of you, I will be back, he threatened, then stepped out and shut the door. I think what happened was everything, the sexual abuse, all that, what happened to her has made her mind think she sees and hears these things, and that's awful. Spike and Scorch came back laughing. "Hey, Juliet, the big brawny guard man wants to use his stick on you." I did not know why he would want to use a stick on you, Scorch scoffed. "You look like some pathetic pauper boy with that chopped off haircut of yours, but maybe he likes boys, Juliet. Do you think he likes boys?" "Boys, he likes boys," Spike snickered. "Well then, isn't that guard going to have quite the surprise when he finds this boy has boobies?" Spike burst into laughter so hard his body shook the bed. He also tried to say something, but instead began to choke. I smiled just for a second. However, I did not want the guard to come back, so I let the demons have their words. Scorch ranted on, and Spike laughed as I just laid there with thoughts of my Chrissy doll and ice cream sundaes. I did not dare fight back. Like, it's almost like she ended up getting schizophrenia because of what happened to her. Hey, Great Dane Mom. I did not dare fight back. I did that one time, and believe me, I will never do that again. It happened the other night. I had been in a deep sleep when Scorch woke me up and started ranting. Deceitful the face, deceitful the heart, and man is man. We dose it, forget. Scorch was talking in a high-pitched tone that pierced my ears, and Spike's laugh was louder, more irritating than ever. I was so exhausted and could not take it anymore. I came out from under my covers very angry, crawled right up to the footrail, and looked Scorch in the eyes. I pointed my finger right in his face and sternly declared, "Listen here, you little prick. I am tired, sick and tired of your bullshit, and I am not going to take it anymore." Then I briskly, backhanded Scorch right in the mouth. He flipped backwards off the rail and fell hard onto the floor. Spike laughed so hysterically that I began to laugh too. Scorch scurried right back up the footrail within seconds and snarled. Scorch stood completely upright, which stretched him a foot taller. He firmly crossed his arms and looked down at me with wide eyes. "Oh my, little Juliet, don't be so upset, my dear," Scorch said. But it was not his voice. It was Father Tom's voice. And I froze. "You are an angel sent to me. That is why we must be one, my little Juliet." My body shook uncontrollably, and my eyes spilled tears. "Oh, my sweet girl, do not be afraid." I quickly jumped out of bed, grabbed the pillow, and yanked the blanket off. I darted to the corner of the room and threw the blanket over my entire body. I curled up in a fetal position with my pillow, sobbing until I fell asleep. The next morning, I awoke in my bed with my pillow and blanket. I never confronted Scorch again. So, yeah, that's what I thought. It has to do with that perverted priest, Tom. I miss Dr. Huxley so much. He was a nice man, and never asked me about the past. The demons were not here then. They did not show up until Dr. Vanadin arrived and made me start talking to that stupid, crusty old psychiatrist who looks like he has one foot in the grave. All they want to know, all they want is to know everyone's secrets here, but I only talk about my brother's death. I know I have to say something to them because if I give them nothing, they will do what they can do to pull something out of me. I wish I could talk to someone about the demons, but I cannot. I've become so delirious with lack of sleep, and I feel like my soul is draining out of me. I can't tell them about the demons, but I can't take it anymore either. So when Sable asked for help to escape, I quickly said yes. So they all know each other, and they are all planning this escape. Wow. With this Dr. Quill knowing about it. I'm just interested to know if they escaped, did they die? Did they escape and change names? Are they living still? Are they, you know what I mean? Sable has already rounded up many of the other patients to be part of the plan. The great part is that I am an important part since Dr. B lets me work in his office. I go every Friday and spend the day filing. I do not say anything. I just file, and Dr. B ignores me. It's not that he's nice to me, but he's not mean to me either. He even told me one day that I did a good job. I thanked him, then asked what made him choose me for the job. Dr. B said it was because I knew how to keep a secret. And he was right. I do. For I had never told anyone, not even Dr. Huxley, what Father Tom did to me, or about the day I went and avenged my brother's death. It was on Saturday evening 10 years ago when Father Tom was preparing for the next day's sermon at the church's altar. I walked in through the front double doors, and he quickly turned to face me, the altar now behind him. I had worn my uniform special for that day and skipped happily down the aisle. I could feel my brown curls bounce on my white colored blouse. I smiled with my hands behind my back, and Father Tom smiled in return. When I got to the edge of the maroon carpet steps, I stopped, batted my big brown eyes, then pulled the gun from behind my back and shot him right in the penis. You go, girl. Sorry, he deserved it. That's where the gun went. I was hoping she had taken it. He doubled over and dropped to his knees with one hand holding his groin and the other hand stretched towards me for help. His watery eyes begged for mercy as he tried to say my name, but he choked instead. I threw the gun on the floor, turned around, and walked back down the aisle, smiling as I repeatedly recited louder and louder, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Right? Ha ha. There's somebody, I watched a show, Deadly Women, I believe it was called. Love that show, but there was a girl and she went to prison because she ended up cutting out this whole her father's genitals, like the whole thing, just massacred it. They will never work again. She did that because she found out that not only did he molest her, he was now doing it to her daughter. So she cut that out and he ended up, I believe he ended up bleeding to death. Um, and yet they put her away anyways. She should have never went away. No, I don't believe so for a second. People like that, they don't deserve justice. When I reached the double doors, I heard a flurry of people surrounding Father Tom as they yelled for towels and a doctor. I strutted out, down the cement steps, and skipped happily down the street until I reached the park on the other side of town, where I found a bench and slept on it for the night. The next morning, I was awakened by a police officer shaking me. Wake up, Juliet. I groggily sat up, and the officer put his coat around me. Come on, kid, it's time to go. I realized at that moment that it was Officer Brown. There was a moment of hesitation when I looked up to his eyes, and for just a split second, I thought he was going to tell me to make a run for it. Instead, he put me into the back seat of his patrol car and took me straight to the local hospital. Within a couple of days, I was shipped here to Emerson. Emerson, sorry. Right, Jen? I mean, that stuff really, really, really screws with your mind. It makes your whole life is ruined because of these priests and dads and stepdads, especially. No, she should have never got in trouble for that at all. Her brother committed suicide because of that fucking priest, Father Tom, for what he did to the brother and did to her as well. So because her brother committed suicide because of this priest, she shot him in the pecker. I'm glad she did. At the time, I thought I would be out of this asylum soon. I thought the churchies would understand what happened and that my mother would come and get me out. I thought the note I had left explaining what Father Tom had done to my brother would bestow my redemption, but I never received my emancipation. Maybe I should have told them in the note that he did that to me too, and then maybe they would have understood. It doesn't matter now, though, because I will be out of this place soon enough. I cannot wait until the night when Spike and Scorch show up on my bed rail and find that I am not there. I would love to see the looks on their astonished faces. In fact, until I leave this place, I will no longer think of my doll or an ice cream sundae when they start to badger me. Instead, I will now imagine the night when Spike and Scorch find me gone. I will envision that I have stuffed my pillow under the cover so they will think I am there, and Scorch will start in. Wake up, Juliet, wake up. Yet there will be no answer. Scorch will go on one of his tangents, and when not even a breath comes out of me, Scorch and Spike will become so enraged that they will jump onto the bed and scamper to the headboard. Scorch will yank the covers down, and they will discover I am gone. Spike will go silent, and Scorch's head of flames will ignite like a bonfire. I will picture myself sitting on the footrail, visible through their eyes. They will hear shrills of laughter which will make them freeze. Then their bodies will turn into paper and fall flat onto the bed. I will then jump to the floor and walk around to the side of the bed. Well, well, I will pronounce as I pick them up. Let us play a game of rock, paper, and I will put out my scissors, cutting them into 100 pieces all over the bed. Once done, I scoop them up and throw them in the air, and like confetti shower, they will fall on me as I turn in circles, rejoicing. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things that I can, and wisdom to know the difference. After that, I will lie down on the bed and fall asleep, and awaken on that park bench with Officer Brown shaking me. Wake up, Juliet, Officer Brown will say as I sit up groggily while he puts the coat around me. Come on, kid, it's time to go, he will say. Then I look into his eyes, stand up, and Officer Brown will declare, Run, kid, run and never come back. And I will do just that. She's really messed up. A gloomy peace will then overtake me. The sun will show their evil heads no more. Go will I, to have no more talk of these sad things. For never shall there be told the woes of me, Juliet. With warmest regards, Juliet. Now we're on chapter 5, and this one is titled Mo Better. Dear Sir, my name is Mo. Wells, my real name's Morris, but my ma called me's Mo. Some call me's Crazy Mo, but I ain't crazy, sir. They says I am crazy 'cause sometimes I get real mad, and that makes me hurt someone. I don't hurt no one, sir, though unless they'd gone and did something real mean, I tell them, you best stop now before I gets real mad. They think 'cause I don't talk real good, 'cause I stutter, that I'm stupid, but I ain't stupid, sir, 'cause I smarts enough to know how to knocks them out. Don't knows why they's be mean like that, and I gets in trouble for it. Don't seem fair to me. Maybe 'cause I colored, or 'cause I'm bigger, stronger than them's, but I old too, and they's know that. I thinks they get to be mean 'cause they works here, but I'm getting tired of that, sir. One time, one of the orderlies, I hurt him bad, but I just couldn't stop, sir. I just couldn't. My hands just felt good on his neck. His face turned red and blew up like a balloon. Kinda made me laugh. Then I felt a big thump on my head and I fell off of him. Nurse Dunsbury's had whacked me with a baseball bat. I rolled onto my back and looked up. Nurse Dunbury's held that bat high over me, waiting to swing like I was some kind of rodent runnings loose in her kitchen. I just gets real mad sometimes when things are said and when's I can't take it no more. If they wouldn't say mean things, I wouldn't get so mad. So this is a older black man named Mo who has a speech impediment, who gets angry. My dad gets mad like that, but he'd been drinking whiskey. His friends would play cards and drink all night on the front porch. When they'd get real drunks, Pa would call me out of bed. Is only 9 then. He'd tell me to say words he knew I couldn't say 'cause I'd stutter real bad. Then him and his friends would laugh real hard and throw rocks at me, saying I was retarded. The mores I couldn't say things, the harder they'd throw them rocks at me. They'd say things like, "Hey, retard," say Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. I tried real hard, but words with a lot of P's is real hard for me, and their laughing would makes me mess it up. I learned not to cry though. No, sir. I'm real good at not crying. I would get knocked to the moon if I had any tears. No crying. I held it in real good, Dr. Quill. I wasn't always this way. I was real smart when I was real little. Ma said when I was 7 years old and hits by a car, it must have messed up my brain some. Oh. She said I just wasn't the same after that, but she said she loved me all the same. It made no difference to her. I asked her one time if Pa loved me too, after my brains gets messed up. Ma smiled and told me, "Don't you mind that Pa of yours. He's just a cranky old man. Don't you pay him any attention, son." She hugged me tight and told me to go play with my friends, but she knew I hadn't no friends. I had two older sisters and one older brother, but they's didn't like me either. They tell me the retard stork brought me by mistake, that I supposed to go to retard town. They were embarrassed of me and pretended they's didn't know me when others were around. They'd be mean to me in front of Pa 'cause he thoughts it was real funny. Though Ma slapped them all in the back of their heads if she catched 'em doing it to me. Then Ma died, and things changed real bad. Pa drunk more and more. I got hit more and more. Pa yelled at me, saying he didn't need one more mouth to feed. So I promised I wouldn't eat, and I didn't even eat a crumb. That only lasted a few days, though, and one night Pa dragged me out of bed, tied my hands behind my back, and then puts a potato sack over my head. He tied it on real tight and puts me in the car. We drove for a long, long time. He yelled at me the whole way and was saying I was retarded and other words, sir, I will not write. He said I'd killed my mother 'cause I was so retarded she couldn't stand it no mores. Then he stopped, shoved me out the car, and yelled, "Don't you ever come back. None of us want you. No one wants a retard." That is fucking heartbreaking. Sorry I keep saying the R word. I'm just trying to be as read what he's saying, you know what I mean? I want it to be all real. I heard the door slam shut and his car drive off real fast. The next morning, some nice man found me and took me to the police. The police were real nice to me, but they said they had to put me in an orphanage. I was good for a couple years at that orphanage. There was a real nice lady there. Her name was Miss Dolly. She liked me and told me I smart. She showed me how to read and write. Miss Dolly got me to third level and said that was real good. She had pretty blonde hair in a bun and smiled like an angel. Whenever I'd get real mad at myself, she'd always tell me, "Now, Morris, take a deep breath and count to 10 real slow." It is sad. It is. Especially Morris wasn't born like that. He was hit by a car and it extremely messed with his brain. His father to do that and then blame him for his mother's death. Like, come on. It just amazes me. It continues to amaze me how cruel people can be. Miss Dolly told me it was real important for me to not get so mad. She said I was reals big and had a deep, loud voice for 12 years old. I looked like a 20-year-old, she said, and my strength could make me real harmful if I let my anger gets the best of me. She said that I didn't knows my own strength, and I had to be real careful 'cause it was a gift for good things, not bad. I try to think of that a lot so I don't get so mad, but I just can't help it sometimes, sir. My thoughts go away and I just lose my minds. Then Miss Dolly had to move. Her husband had found a real good job somewhere as far, and Miss Dolly couldn't teach me no more. She had tears on her last day, and that made me have some tears too. I said sorry for having tears, and she hugged me and said it was okay for me to have tears. I cried so hard I couldn't make them tears stop, and my body shook like there was a big earthquake. Miss Dolly sat me down and rocked me until my tears went dry. Then, right before she left, she told me to remember I was real special. So that breaks my heart for him too. Not only did they lose Dr. Huxley, he now lost Miss Dolly. Like, they can't catch a friggin' break. After that, the kids at the orphanage started to tease me real bad. I had worked so hard, sir, getting my stuttering gone, but their teasing made me so mad it came back. So did my anger. One day, I was sitting by myself reading outside when a boy named Billy and his friends came over. They'd started calling me names, and I paid them no never mind at first. Then Billy picked up some rocks and began throwing at me harder and harder. The other boys began to laugh, and that made me so mad. I jumped up, charged at Billy, and threw into the gravel. My knees pinned him down, and I forced his mouth open by putting my hand around his jaw. Then with my other hand, I shoved gravel and rocks down his mouth. I was putting them in there real good. Billy choked hard and tried to squirm away, but I held him down real good. Guess one of the boys ran off to tell 'cause Mr. Connors and the janitor came from behind and yanked me off Billy. I laughed so hard as they rolled Billy onto his stomach and he spit out all those rocks. Mr. Connor and the janitor took me to a room and locked me up. I was there till someone picked me up, and then I was sent here. Don't know if you knows Dr. Quill, but I've been here longer than you. Dr. Huxley said I was the first of his special projects. I wasn't from rich families like the others were here's then. Most of them gots to go home, and Dr. Huxley said he was getting those who didn't have no homes to go back to. I got here right before you, but I didn't get to come out till Dr. Huxley knew I'd be real good. He told me I was the goodest man he'd ever did know, and if that angry side got out of me, he said I would be a real good part of this place. And he did, Dr. Quill. He helped me real good. No one teased me here's then. Dr. Huxley would have none of that. No, sir. The nurses and others that were here then was real nice. Then that Dr. B showed up and my anger part came back and it came back real bad. So he lost two. Not only that nurse, Miss Dolly, but then he lost Dr. Huxley and now he's just left there to rot. Hey now, hi guy. It started when Dr. B had me digging holes for trees they's planting around the new parts of the building. I just started digging a hole when this orderly came out for a smoke break and started making funs of me. Hey, stupid, he yelled and comes up behind me. I told him to stop before I got mad, but he just kept a talking. Aw, you want me to shut up, you stupid Negro? That made me so mad that I swung around with the shovel and knocked that skinny little white boy in the head real hard. He fell like a sack of potatoes and laid there not a movin'. I turned around and kept a digging. When I done, I went inside and told the nurse he's out there. I don't know what happened to him. I didn't see him after that, but they came for me that night and drug me out of my room. They hooked me up to some machine with wires and said they's going to shock me. And as you can see from me reading, what the doctors are not seeing is what these people are doing. They know he's quick to anger. They knew Miss Dolly was teaching him how to subside that anger, and yet these fuckers are purposely making him angry. And then they get hurt because he's a huge guy and can kick their ass. And he gets shit for it. That's not right. See, in these type of situations, I wish I was there. I could help, be his next Miss Dolly. Dr. Huxtable, not necessarily be the nurse or the doctor, but just someone like that so we can confide in and help the poor guy. All of them, for that matter. I was real scared at first and tried to get out of the chair, but they had my hand strapped down real good. Then they turned the machine on and it made a funny noise, but it didn't hurt me at first. The nurses and Chinese doctors started getting real noisy. talking almost like they were excited, and I just kept sitting there. One of the nurses kept a saying more, and then they'd talk and write stuffs down. They's been doing it to me every night now, and it's starting to hurts real bad because they keep putting me in that chair longer and longer each times, and I don't likes it one bit. No, sir. They still let me do the yard work around here, but one times they'd had me helping them cookers. Them cooking folks are meaner than them orderlies, 'cause I helping them by putting boxes in their big freezer, and when I puts the last box in, they's locked me in the freezer. They's thinking they's funny doing that, and then I don't know how it happened, but oh, they forgot I was there. I guess I lucky that night. The night guard checked my room that night. They had a mad search thinking I'd gone and escaped. Then Dr. V's dog had sniffed me out. The orderlies pulled me into the freezer, then threw me in my room. Dr. V had a couple of them night guards beat me with their sticks to show me a lesson. I was too frozen to fight back anyway. I still don't feel my toes real good. Holy, what they do to us here, sir, just ain't right. I know I ain't perfect the way I gets mad, but I don't sets out to be mean, just to be mean. They's do though. So when Jackie came and asked me to help her and that black-haired girl, I said yes. I figure the ways Dr. V keeps frying me like likes a chicken, they ain't gonna stop till they kills me. I ain't stupid, sir. I've been collecting rocks every time they have me do the yard work. I puts a little in my pockets. Then when I gets to my room, put them in a hole I tore in my mattress. Almost got enough to shove in all of their mouths and shut them up real good. They's gonna be real surprised, Dr. Quill, when we gets them. We gonna show them. They may thinks we ain't so right in the head, but we gonna shows them that we ain't so wrongs in the head either. God bless you, Sir Mo. So they're all planning this escape. They're all writing to this so-called Dr. Quill. Okay. I'll read one more chapter and then I gotta get off here and go live again with Jack the Ripper. Chapter 6 is called The Mute in Me. March 25th, 1978. Dear Dr. Quill, I looked outside my bedroom window and see the plush grass, so green and vibrant, yet peaceful. The trees are strong and sturdy, yet topped with such delicate frail leaves. Do you enjoy such scenery, doctor? Funny how no one ever declares a tree or grass or even a storm of clouds crazy. When the elements act out of their realm of normal, no one calls them insane. They safely call it nature. That is what we are here to me, the purest form of nature. The cyclone, the tsunami, the hurricane, a beautiful disaster. This person sounds actually kind of brilliant. I'm writing to you for there is a lot of respect for the words that you speak around here. Myself speak with no words. They call me a mute. Although a mute is one unable to speak, and I suppose I have the ability to speak, but I have not tried, and I have no desire to do so. They treat me as if I am incompetent. I may not speak, but my mind is at full capacity. I just play along with the charade. If they want to believe such things of me, then let it be. It can be ironic here at times, the way they think they are so smart, so sane. Everyone has a piece of insanity within, don't you agree? The patrons here were just born with a little more obvious insanity than the rest of the world. If most people owned up to their insanity, maybe the rest of the world would be diagnosed with sanity and we would lock them up for not fitting into our society. How gracious that would be. Don't you think so, Doctor? I think of these kinds of things quite often, but I do not share them with others. No, I like the world inside me. It is sacred. No one can invade it. No one can judge it. That is what bothers them around here the most. They do not know what I think or feel. They do not like not knowing. That is why I choose not to communicate in any way with that doctor, because then they would win. I liked it when Dr. Huxley was here. Here's another patient likes Dr. Huxley. Although this place is really all I have ever known. I don't really remember much of when I lived outside of here. They would talk in bits and pieces about me. They think that because I do not talk, that also cannot hear. My hearing is very well, thank you. Dr. Huxley once explained to a nurse who was most irritated at my lack of speaking that I had seen things as a small child that I should have never ever seen. They say words like traumatic, brutal, torture, and something about my mother and father. I do not remember such things, but I do have dreams. Dr. Huxley called them night terrors. That's when your nightmares are really bad. They make you feel terror, and you can even hit and play about in your sleep, and waking up upright and sweat and terrified with your heart beating so fast it feels like it's going to rip through your chest. Unfortunately, I suffer with that too. I don't know if you guys do night terrors. It's something awful. It's crazy. You really think it's real. Like I ran off my bed before, even though I was lying down. I get up and run, and I'm like, "What the hell am I doing?" I've punched, I've kicked, I've screamed, I've cried, it's just they're night terrors, they're horrible. When Dr. Huxley was here, these bad dreams had eventually went away, but now the night terrors are back and worse than ever. Everybody seemed to be getting better in this book until Dr. Huxley left and Miss Daisy, and now these new doctors and orderlies have completely ruined this asylum. Holy frig. It is the same dream each time, but the horrific feeling at the end is getting worse. The dream starts where I'm swimming deep in an ocean like a fish. I have no need to hold my breath. I am just naturally swimming. The water is warm and it feels good. Then suddenly the water is ice cold and an awful feeling overwhelms me. I look behind me and see from afar that a huge shark is darting towards me. I swim as fast as possible, but I feel that the shark is getting closer fast. I look up to the top of the ocean, then swim up to an unearthly speed and quickly come to the surface. When my head breaks through the top of the water, I scream for help. From out of nowhere, a man pulls me up and into this small fishing boat. I look up at him, and somehow this man is actually me, but as an older man. As I cough out water, the shark jumps out of the water. The old red-haired man, that is me, stabs the shark with a spear and throws the shark deep into the boat. The shark lays in front of me dead, and it appears to be only a couple feet long now. The man chops the shark in half, and over 100 yellow bunnies pop out and jump into the ocean. They all swim away happy. But one yellow bunny will not jump out, and it just sits in the boat. I look for the red-haired man, but he is gone, and I begin to get the chills. The ocean begins to get rocky, and I lean over to pick up the soft yellow bunny, and it bites my hand with piercing teeth, which sends a sharp pain from my hand up through my arm. I start crying and ask the bunny why it did that, but the bunny looks at me blankly. The ocean is stormy, and the clouds darken as I sit there and cry uncontrollably. Then I wake up. Sometimes still crying. Each night the dream gets more and more vivid. I cannot control the dream at all. I am always scared of the shark and pick up the bunny that bites me, and I always cry endlessly. Sure. I want these dreams to end, though I do not, of course, tell them here of such things. Oh, how much excitement they would gain knowing I suffer in any way. I am almost certain they would give me medication to make me sleep even more, to endure these night terrors at a frequency most unbearable. They do not treat us in any humane manner. We are nothing. They do not even address me by name. I am simply referred to as Vegetable Girl. Dr. Huxley came up with my name. Pepper. Oh my God. For any of you that watch American Horror Story, I just found Pepper. She doesn't talk, but she's smart. She doesn't talk, and her name is Pepper. Wow. So Dr. Huxley came up with my name, Pepper. I do not remember my birth name, but Dr. Huxley told me when I was a little girl that my bobbed red hair and freckles reminded him of Peppermint Patty. He always read the Peanuts cartoons to me. There's my little Peppermint Patty, he would say in delight as I showed up for class. I hated that he thought I looked like Peppermint Patty because I thought she looked a lot like a boy, rough and unruly. I thought of myself as a girl who was strong and independent, yet sweet and proper. However, the smile it brought to Dr. Huxley's face made me grit his. This is my little Peppermint Patty. Eventually, and much to my delight, by the time I was 10 years old, my name shortened to Pepper. Spicy is much more flattering. What I had appreciated about Dr. Huxley the most was how he respected my desire to not talk and my pretending to not hear. He did not admonish me for that. Instead, he taught me sign language and taught me to write and read. When any staff questioned why he bothered doing so, Dr. Huxley explained that people do not need voices or hearing to communicate. They just need communication tools. He would have me write papers about a book I had read and would give me tests. He would tell me that once I was out of Emerson Rose, I was going to go far with my education, but I knew I was not ever leaving here. This place was all I had ever known. I had read every book in our library more than once by the time I was 14, so Dr. Huxley had me help by being a nurse's aide. I presume it was because I was never a threat to the others and was merely a mute. I was allowed to help with bandage wounds, taking and writing down blood pressure, and taking temperature. I listened to the nurses ask questions and discuss each diagnosis. I absorbed it all. A couple of the nurses brought me medical manuals, which I read front to back. I would write down questions that they would answer. By the age of 17, I was becoming more and more interested in becoming a nurse. Then Dr. Huxley died, and in came Dr. Vanadin. The first thing Dr. Vanadin did was fire all the staff here, including the nurses. Wow. I never made mention of my experience, and Dr. Huxley, seemingly pleased with a lot of foresight, it seems never documented my nursing advancements in my records. Consequently, Dr. Vanden came to me saying that my records showed I am an idiot, for I had made no progress since my arrival. From then on, I just sat in a chair in front of the recreation room window staring at the trees. The orderlies and nurses try to say and do things to make me talk or make noises, but I do not react. They do this to antagonize me into talking, but I just stare at the window. They close the curtains on me at times, so I stare at the curtains. I refuse to let them get any kind of emotion out of me. They do not like that here. Why do you suppose they feel the need to get something out of me? What does it matter to them? How funny that they have made that so important to them. Why do you suppose they feel the need to get something out of me? I just read that, sorry. In the beginning, Dr. Vanadin tried to get something out of me by burning my hands in hot water. Then he did hydrotherapy, electric therapy, etc., etc. But he finally declared me an incurable mental retard. At least that's according to the sign I am required to wear around my neck. Wow. But don't wear the sign. I don't get fed. I also do not want to end up behind the walls. I think my diagnosis has saved me from that thus far. I would like to believe that Dr. Vanden giving up on me was a good thing, but I know about the calm before the storm. They are getting ready to break me, somehow. The beginning treatment is always humiliation, and then one day you're just gone, sent to the other side. We are nothing but lab rats to him and his staff. When Jackie came to me for help, I was on board immediately. It must seem silly to come to a mute girl for help, but Jackie knew I could be important to them. She knew Dr. Huxley and I had conversations with our hands, sign language, silent words. So it is through me that we have created our own language and a way we can all communicate without others knowing. We mostly use only one hand, for that is all Jackie has to use. 5 leads work with Jackie. Each lead is in charge of recruiting different patients, and each have a different role. Only the leads know that Sable is in charge. Only I know that Sable is not really in charge, but working with someone else above her. I don't know which patient it is, but whoever it is, this person seems to have unlimited access to meet our needs. They use a fist as a symbol to identify this commander of sorts. Sable chose me to know about the fist because if ever caught, she knows they would not be able to get me to talk, and that I, of course, would carry on the mission at any expense. I only presume that the fist would know to come to me. The patients who are involved in the plan have all drawn the letter H with a circle around it somewhere, either on their body or in their art pictures. To further communicate and help inspire the mission, these same patients have also manifested a finger sign for H. The H, of course, symbolizes Dr. Huxley. Sable's plan involved a total of 45 patients, including the five leads. Because there's only 12 staff on duty per each shift, we do have the advantage in numbers because Dr. Vanderden hires most of his orderlies due to their sleaziness instead of their strength. We also have muscle on our side. Plus, most of the patients here are really crazy, crazy enough to do whatever it takes to overtake them all. Four of the leads have been assigned a section of rooms. The patients know who their leads are and not much more. Their orders are to simply follow their lead and fight until the end. They also have been given instructions on how to create and or find a weapon of some sort if the need arises. Sounds to me like the patients are going to murder everyone and then free themselves, get out of there. I wonder if that's what happened. Walter has given Jackie the layout of the asylum on napkins piece by piece. From there, a route for the escape has been planned. Walter has access to one set of keys, and Sable is in contact with two others with whom she will also be getting keys. I'm not sure who they are. It could be even you, Doctor. Once at the asylum, a ferry boat will be waiting to take us to shore. From there, we will turn Dr. Vanderden and his staff into the authorities and tell them what they have done to us. They must act quickly before he kills all those patients locked up on the other side of that wall. I hate to see what's on the other side of that wall. Dr. Vanderden must pay for what he has done. I do hope they will care enough to punish him and his staff. I hope we are not turned out into the streets or locked back up into the hand of the devil himself. Well, Dr. Quill, I must end this letter. It will soon be mealtime, and once again they will probably take away my utensils or pour Tabasco sauce all over my food. I will once again portray a picture of unmovable emotion when they try to get something out of me. Sable has Jackie telling everyone how important it is that we write our stories down and get them to you, but Sable never explains why doing this is so important. But I know why. It's because if we do not make it out of here, if Dr. Vanderden and his staff win this war, someone has to tell our stories. And it looks like Dr. Quill that someone is you. With warmest regards, Pepper. All right, I'm going to leave it there because I have to go live and again. Next is chapter 7. So I wonder if this Dr. Quill is the one that helped them escape. That's why they're writing to him. I mean, this is heartbreaking. All right, you guys, I'll be right back in a few minutes with what am I doing? Jack the Ripper. Thanks for joining me. I'll be right back. Bye.